All right, everybody, welcome to our little beginner snatch tutorial. So there's gonna be a beginner, intermediate, I'll do an advanced eventually. But how I wanna kind of start this off with a little, not disclaimer, but a little, I guess, tip of advice when you're learning how to snatch. One thing I think is really important when learning how to snatch is not when you're learning the basics, like basics, is not trying to get all of the pieces of movement perfect. What you want to do first is kind of get an outline of what the movement should be like. So it's not going to be perfect. You know, you might have a couple errors here and there, but I think it's very important to get the rough outline of how to snatch and clean and jerk before you start getting into the nitpicky stuff. That's how I really like to teach it. It's way too much to learn for you as an athlete to get all of the nuancy things to it. And also that just keeps the whole movement so much simpler. So keeping it as simple as possible is gonna help you a whole lot. And then adding things as you go on. It's gonna be really tough if you just get a mountain of information to learn how to snatch first and then trying to compile that all at once. So that's what today is going to do, is we are going to just go over the rough outline of what you need to be doing for a snatch. So to get kind of started here, I like to teach a snatch in a bottoms up kind of fashion. Sometimes I'll go in the top down. So what that kind of means is bottoms up is we start from the floor, okay? And then there's some points where, you know, if we want to do some error correction and work on some things, I'll start from the top down, which is starting from up here, the hip. So first thing I want to do first with the snatch is where do we find for our grip? Keep this as super simple, like all these little smaller things that are not you picking up the bar, don't overthink them too much, just go with it. If it is a problem, we will fix it later. But for now, the most important thing is getting comfortable with the movement. The more we kind of obsess over the small things like, where should my feet be, which can be kind of important, or where should my grip be? We're now like wasting time and when we could be working on the overall piece of the movement. So what I want you to do first is where that bar is going to be right in the hip crease. So a good way you can do it is just do this. And if you put your hands here, that's good. Another way you can do it is if you put your hand out like this, put it up here like this, that's usually a good way to do it as well. But you want to be able to, if you bend over this way, take your hands off the bar. That means you have it in a good spot. So when you're going to do that, you're going to try to translate that onto the bar. So for me, I know if I translated that on the bar, I'm right outside of this ring here. All right. So the setup is the first part. We're going to go over the setup, the pull, and the overhead with a transition. So first thing I want you to do for the setup, keep it very simple. We're going to go in kind of layers, still in the setup. All right, so have your feet about a little bit wider than shoulder width apart over the center of the bar. And then you're going to find that grip. And the only thing you're going to do here, hips down, chest up. That's it. So grab the bar here. All right. And I'm going to be hips down, chest up, right? And what you should be able to do is, this is going to be super uncomfortable at first. But when you've been doing this for a while, you can sit down here all day. You should be able to just fine, take your hands off the bar, put them back. You should be balanced. If you are relying on the bar to keep your balance here, you're probably pulling on the bar some way, somehow, and you're probably going to be off balance, okay? So hips down, chest up. We do not want to be here. And the reason why we want to have hips down, chest up is we want to replicate the position that we're in the bottom of a squat as much as possible. If I do that again, I'm here. And if I take my hands off, I kind of look like I'm in a back squat, which is good. The strongest position we can be in is kind of like a back squat, right? So that's ideal. So take a step back for a second. So if you want to even pause the video now or digest that a little bit, try that out on your own. That's a good way to kind of do this. Practice, listen, practice, listen. But this is gonna be layers. So the next thing we're gonna do is a big thing that I see as a common thing a lot of people miss. Is we're gonna work on keeping the back tight, all right? So when we get down into that position, hips down, chest up, we don't want our shoulders to be like this, right? That's what a lot of powerlifters tend to do. That's just kind of like how powerlifters will lift weights. We want to have the shoulders, the way I like to teach people is shrug your shoulders up to your ears, push them down. You should then feel back here, the lats get super tight and pressed down. Everything should be really tight back here behind the armpit. That's the goal. So even if you want to try this, shoulders up, shoulders down, then go down and grab the bar that way, kind of like the Hampton Morris setup, that's a good position to be in. We just don't want to be here. We want to be here, right? So that's the biggest thing. Second thing, you want to make sure that bar is pulled into the shins. It should be about touching the shins, all right? We do not want the bar out here. The analogy I like to give people is it harder or easier to carry a box or something out here or close to you? It's way easier when it's close to you. The closer the bar can be to the body, the better. So just that is the basics of the setup. If you have that down and you can do that and you can look kind of like the way I did, you're already in a great spot. Setup. So from here, I have weight in the bar because this is where we want the bar to practice things. We want the bar just off the ground because that's where the bar is going to be when we have plates on it. So if you have a plate, just practice setup with the plates on the bar. It's a lot easier than practicing with no plates on the bar, having the bar just float. So next thing, we're going to worry about pulling the bar off the floor. Now, ideally, this should be the simplest part of the movement, but it's not for a lot of people, and for a good reason. It can be a little bit complicated. We also, a lot of times when we're learning weightlifting, we want to get kind of lost in the horizontal movement. What I mean by that is a lot of people get lost in the, moving back and forth sort of thing rather than just going up. So where I like to start when we're working on the pull is I like to start with, if we grab the bar here when we get into our setup, if I take my hands off the bar, keep my hands about where they were, and I just stand up like I'm doing a squat, that's essentially how we should treat the pull when we're standing up, right? A lot of times what I see people do that becomes very problematic is, as I said, we worry way too much about the horizontal stuff, meaning we are here, we end up going here, or we go here, and we're moving so much horizontally, we're not actually applying force to the bar to go upward, which is the main goal. So when we're doing this, the only joint in the body that should be moving is going to be the knees. The hips aren't really going to move a whole lot till you get more up here in the thigh area, right? So just if we start with just a PVC pipe or something, what I want you to practice doing is moving the bar up and down your legs, keeping the bar very close to the legs. Almost like the cue people like to use is like you're shaving your legs with the bar. But I want you to worry about just the legs moving the bar up and down like it's an elevator, all right? So if I start here, and I want you to pay attention to my hip, my shoulders, everything else besides my knee. My knee is the only thing that's going to be really moving. It's the main mover here. So we go down here, and I stand up. You kind of notice, yes, I do kind of do this with my back, right? But, I can't really just stop here. So I have to come all the way back up. But if you notice from about, I'd say here to here, it's just the knees and legs moving. Those legs are just a vehicle and a way to get us up to the hip. Because the more we move back and forth, get off balance, the more we're skewing the path and direction of the bar. One other big tip for this pull is balance. Balance is so important for this. Watch your feet. Your feet are at the center of it all. If your feet are moving on your heels, toes, that's just going to cause more issues as you get up to the hip, okay? So you really want to make sure that you stay balanced as possible, okay? So, and here's what kind of happens. I'll kind of explain a little bit, but I don't want you to get too lost in the details. If we're here and I get on my heels too much, I'm in a really bad position because now what's the problem is my whole body is in the way. If I want the bar to go up, I now have to lean back a whole lot to get the bar out of the way. Same thing if I'm on my toes too much. Now I'm way behind the bar. Now I have no hip extension to work with, right? So we want to be as balanced as we possibly can. So I'm going to do a couple pulls off the floor. And I mostly want you to notice how everything stays pretty much locked into place besides my knees. We're just moving up and down like an elevator. And that's like an elevator drill is like what I have a lot of people do, right? Where we're here pulling up to there, back down, there, even just deadlifts. I'm just thinking about back squatting off the floor, right? So that's a pull. Now we got to get into the extension and the turnover, right? This is where I like to drop the bar, pick up a PVC pipe. Because the nice thing about this is now we can slow it down, stop, think about what we're doing, okay? So we're gonna pick up almost like right where we left off with a pull, whereas right here at the hip. Now this is what I like to explain to people as like, it feels like you are patting your head, rubbing your belly. It is a little bit confusing, but we're gonna try to keep this super nice and simple. So the first part I wanna break it up into is, I wanna break it up into just, we extend, and then we pull up like this. That's it. So even go down to your knees, extend. As you pull up with the arms, the heels go down. Keep it super simple for now, you know, one step at a time. Even that's gonna be a little bit tough. If you get that first try, congratulations, you're not like most people. Most people can't do that, right? Here. Now the reason why we do that is the body and the snatch and the clean have two jobs. First job for the legs is to get the bar up. Legs and hips are the primary movers of the movement. The arms have a completely separate job. Now the arms job is to pull you under, meaning when I get to here, they want to pull me under like that. The job of the arms is not to pull the bar up more. If you think about how much you can upright row, which is just here, I bet it's not very much unless you use your hips if you do this. Not much at all. So using them is going to give you minimal improvements to your snatch, but also it's really hard on the arms. The arms are not meant to lift that kind of load. You'll have some shoulder issues if you kind of continue to do that. So let's use them for something more efficient, something that they're better at, which is when we get up to here, pulling us under, right? So that's the reason why I have that broken up that way, is we want to have that distinct difference in the legs and the arms moving. So here, start there for now. Once you can get that timing down, now we're going to kind of put ourselves more into a power snatch position. Power snatch meaning anything kind of like with the legs above parallel. So we're here. Now let's go squat down a little bit. Okay? Now let's keep it going a little further. It's going to go a little fast. Let's pick up the feet too. pick up the feet and really drop under. Maybe do a power snatch, but whatever's comfortable for you. So most people, when you get started, they're not going to be able to squat down all the way, but go as far as you comfortably can while keeping the heels down on the ground, right? So now let's go with pick the feet up actually, like all the way, not just the heels. So now we'll go here. All we're doing is picking the feet up and dropping, and we're pulling under. That pull under is going to be with the traps. So here it looks a little bit, right? So we don't want to pull and shrug up until we get to here. So if I go real slow, right? Here, there. If you can do that, not only will you always catch things in full snatches, you will always be fast. You cannot be fast and pull under all the way if you get to your extension and you're already here. If you're already here, now you have some really small muscles that are rotators in your back that you're just doing this with. So use the big muscles, the traps, to pull under all the way, all right? And that's really the main outline. Now, once you get comfortable with all of that, let's put it all together, right? Now, the slower you can go at first, the better. Don't try to go fast. Going fast at first is really just going to result in a whole lot of mistakes, okay? So if we're here, let's start with this. Go up all the way. There. I like that stopping point a whole lot. That's going to help you think, okay, I've gone up, now I can go under, right? And then as you get comfortable that once you can do this really well, then it's time to start speeding it up, right? Now, let's make that stopping point a little quicker, okay? So we're here. Cool. Let's keep it going a little bit. A little faster. And we're going to go a little faster. Then you'll notice you're really elevating the bar with your legs once you can do that. And you're dropping under very fast. Then, once you're done with that, we're going to start moving up in bars. So this is a PVC pipe. You can find, usually in most gyms, a training bar, which is about 15 pounds. Lighter is good at first just because easier on your arms at first, easier to control and think about, not to drop. Then move up your way to a normal bar, right? So, and then eventually, you can, once you move up in weight, it's always a good idea to actually start almost at ground zero, all right? So if I take these weights off, I'm almost going to start a little bit of that over again. They have a saying in weightlifting, position, speed, and load, right? Once you go up and load, you have to go back to positions. Work on the positions, introduce more speed, then you can go up and load, restart it a little bit, okay? So if I just go here, I'm going to start with just kind of like what I did, which is going to be the going up on my toes, pulling under, right? So if I go here, I'm going to go here, there. Now this is a jump from the PVC pipe to the normal bar, so that might be a little bit tough. So if you jump from PVC pipe to training bar, it's a little bit easier. And if I go a little bit faster, all right, a little bit faster, and a little bit more full speed. Boom, you're there, right? So that is like my initial beginner overview of Snatch.